Welcome to Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight our guest is Dr. Adam Czyżewski of PKN Orlen, Chief Economist of the company. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hello, good morning.
Let's say a few words about the new energy. The Polish electricity market is very much harmed by the regulation regarding the CO2 emission, and some say that this pressure is only going to be bigger. So what the country like Poland, that is based on coal, should do in such condition?
I mean, that's true, and we also share this opinion that the situation will be tougher for hard coal-based energy because of rising costs of emissions of CO2, and this is something which, if one looks long term, is inevitable because according to knowledge the world has to contain emissions. So when the future is uncertain, one thing, to my opinion, is certain, that we will live in the world when the cost of CO2 emissions are higher, will be higher and higher. So what Poland should do? I mean, Poland should divert from coal, slowly but surely. And nobody, I think, expects of us that we, from day to day, we will abandon our coal and we will, go to different energy sources. But we should, in our energy policy, long-term energy policy, show a transition from coal. Why we stick to coal? Because this is our local resource, yes? But when we take wind or solar, it's also local, so it doesn't hamper energy security.
Right. The problem with solar is that we don't have too much of it. The wind, it's maybe okay, but on the Baltic Sea, and the question if there is enough place to put the turbines and get enough juice from it to power our economy, which is incidentally based on south of the country. So again, it's over 500 kilometers of the energy line to deliver to the final customer.
Yeah, but there are solutions which, for example, distributed power generation, when household can generate power and they can be active player on the market. There are technologies which can combine small units which each unit may combine solar, wind, thermal energy, and build a virtual power plants. So, and nobody expects from us that we will go with coal to zero, because in the future, probably, because there's a lot of coal in the world, and I haven't seen any scenario, long-term scenario, even the scenario published by International Energy Agency, which are so-called, climate scenarios. In these scenarios, there is a power from coal, but there is a hope that there will be technologies which will, capture CO2 from emissions, and then, this coal would be greener. So we should simply present a long-term strategy how to get out of coal by simply building in other blocks, in other energy mix.
You mentioned the thing that is very rarely mentioned in Poland, the CO2 sequestration facilities that at least I'm aware of two such plants, one in Canada, another in Switzerland, built and being operated. Maybe this is the solution to get out from this loop that the European Union is putting on us. Just put 10 plants like that in Poland and tell them, we are basically neutral.
Yeah, that is a solution, but now it's a costly solution. Years ago, our PGE power plant in Bełchatów voluntarily wanted to test such a solution, but it happened. We realized that it would be very, very costly, and actually, the regulations in the EU are such that in countries which produce this CCS equipment, you can capture carbon dioxide, but the problem is where, to store it, because no country wants to store it.
There are actually two kinds of equipment. One is storing the captured CO2 underneath, and another is sort of bottling it and selling on the market, thus sort of balancing the expensive cost of the sequestration. Maybe put it in the market. This is the solution.
Yeah, this is the solution. That actually now these technologies, they used to be called CCS, carbon capture and storage. They are called carbon capture, storage and use. So there is a lot of potential use of CO2. And I'm pretty sure that, we will have proper technologies which will help us, to...
Did you try this in Poland?
Actually, I'm not sure about that. I know that whether we try it, we certainly didn't try it in PKN, but in universities, in mining university in Katowice, I know that there are attempts to use carbon to push out methane from shell formation, which would potentially help us to develop our shell.
So that sounds like a holy grail. You take out from the earth the valuable thing like methane, you use it commercially, and instead you put down the CO2.
Yeah, because if you use capture, and I mean methane also produces while burning CO2. So, but technologies say that capturing CO2 from gas is easier than from solid materials.
But anyway, we will have to adjust and do something with the CO2 emission, because otherwise our energy will become too expensive, harming our export and competitivity in the world market.
Yeah, and there are programs, even in EU, devoted, financial programs for financing transfer from carbon-based energy to other energy sources. So there is a financial support. Also, financial sector now is more willing to finance carbon projects, but those which will transform carbon energy into another transition from carbon to another type of energy, because more and more banks and financial institutions now simply refuse financing investments in carbon power plants.
So the shortest solution for the CO2 emission problem is what?
The shortest is to have a strategy how to long-term strategy, how to decarbonize economy, and then, if there is such a strategy, then everybody knows what to do. Research, science, applied research, financial institution, etc., because we have a clear path what to do. The worst thing is, wait and see what happens, because we know what's going to happen. We will pay more and more for our electricity.
And this position of the champion of the world in economic term may be harmed. Sir, thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you very much.
We don't have easy solutions, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll get one sooner or later. Mr. Adam Czyżewski, PhD and Chief Economist of PKN Orlen, was our guest tonight, and that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.